Welcome everyone to this month's RLW Read, Listen, Watch from Roofers Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we're so happy to have you here today. It is the perfect topic, I'm telling you, because look outside, and for a lot of you, you may be seeing some wild weather, some hail. We are bringing the solution to differentiate your business and to really make a difference for your customers. So I am so happy today to present how to grow your business with Stonecoated Steel. Before we get started, a few housekeeping. First of all, this is being recorded and it will be on demand. So you'll be able to get this within 24 hours and share it with all your friends and family. We also will be taking questions through the show. So please put them in the chat. I will address them at the end, but we want you to feel free to chat. In fact, feel free to put in your name, your company, where you're from. Just say hello in the chat and we'll get that moving and we'll answer all those questions at the end of the presentation. So here we go. First of all, I would like to introduce Mitch, who is with Westlake, and he is a representative for the concrete roof tile manufacturers. I'm going to have Mitch, first of all, to say thank you for attending. I think I just read your bio wrong at the top. So please introduce.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, please introduce yourself and tell everybody about what you do.
Yeah, so again, my name is Mitch Eich. I'm the regional sales manager for the Southeast region for our unified steel line, which is a product that's produced by Westlake Royal Roofing Solutions. Real quick background about myself. Way back when, I used to be in the golf industry, so I used to be a golf professional, but entered into the roofing space back in 2015. Had an opportunity to jump on board with a concrete roof tile manufacturer and ran the Central Florida market for about 3.5 years. Was brought over onto the contractor side. I was a VP of sales for a nationwide roofing company. I ran the state of Florida on the sales department, and then was brought back over onto the manufacturing side here about 1.5 years ago with Westlake to really kind of spearhead the stone coated metal side down here in Florida. Obviously with the hurricane that we had last September, that has been very instrumental into rebuilding that west coast of Florida. And we've had a lot of great success with it. A lot of great roofers that have jumped on board with this product line. And back about the beginning of the month is when recently was promoted to a regional sales manager and now help cover the whole Southeast region. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then Florida as well. So
that's excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm really excited. This is just an important topic right now to really have the right roofing products. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'd also like to introduce Robin Anderson, who also with Westlake. And I didn't mention this is being sponsored by Westlake also. So Robin, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what you do, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as I said, Robin Anderson, I am the Technical and Strategy Development Manager for Westlake Royal Roofing. So I'm responsible for mostly when it comes down to code compliancy and our testing product to make sure that what we make is good to be sold. Coming from the industry, I'm third generation sheet metal worker. My grandfather started a metal roofing install company back in the early 1930s. And just kind of stuck in it with it. So through all the processes, I've gotten to the point of that's become my main responsibility with Westlake is again to ensure what we're fabricating is approved for the regions that we sell into.
That's quite a history with roofing in the blood.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, well, let's get started. So we want to start out with, and I know a lot of you out there probably know this, but maybe you don't. So we want to start out with what is stone-coated steel? So Robin, can you start us out? What is it?
Yeah, so the great part about this is our steel, it's a 26 gauge Galvalume base material that we then go ahead and coat it with an acrylic polymer and embed stones into it, thus the stone-coated steel. The great part about this product is a lot of people look at it and say, well, this is a great new product. I'm like, in reality, the concept has been around since World War II, when it was used as a protective shield for Quonset huts for the electronics and such for during World War II on the Allied side of things. So once it became commercialized, actually out of New Zealand back in the early 50s, and as it progressed back over and since the 70s has actually been a product manufactured in the United States. One of the
Wow.
When you
go ahead.
When you get into the why this is a great thing is metal roofing is one of the lightest, most durable and usable products in the world. And by us stone coating it, you're taking all of those benefits, but honestly, you don't have a roof that looks like a barn.
And I was just going to say, because that's really one of the beauty that stone coated gives it such a rich texture. It looks like if people want an asphalt roof or if they want a shake roof, it kind of looks that way. So it makes a huge difference. And Mitch, explain that a little bit. Like, how does that work? How are all these levels, and how does the stone part of that really give that great look?
Yeah, and as Robin mentioned earlier too, right? It is a 26 gauge galvalume metal product that we take as the heart of it, right? That galvalume being a zinc and aluminum mixture, right? The zinc is really important in the manufacturing process for us because when you cut these panels, you'll use something with a pinching motion, right? Well, when you do that, zinc is a self-healing property. So it helps reseal itself to where you don't have corrosion issues on the panels, on those cut marks or anything like that. You talk about the stone coating and why that's aesthetically pleasing, right? Our goal, which I think we'll touch base with on a little bit when we talk about the profiles, is that odds are you've probably driven by or seen a stone coated metal roof in the past, right? You just haven't known that that's what it was. Maybe you were thinking, hey, this is a beautiful looking shingle roof or wood shake roof or a concrete tile roof. And ultimately what you're actually looking at is a metal roof that's meant to look like something else, right? So from a versatility standpoint, the product has a lot of different space in the architectural space. During the manufacturing process, which is what this slide is kind of showing here, I mentioned that 26 gauge galvalume. If you think about that from a roofing perspective, when you do your flashing details, that would be your valley details, head wall, sidewall details, anything like that, you want to have a 26 gauge metal, right? That's your most vulnerable point on a roof. You want to make sure it's protected for a long period of time. What we're doing is basically taking that flashing detail and that 26 gauge metal and coating your entire roof in that, right? So your entire roof system is built using a very high quality metal that's meant in vulnerable points of the roof. Instead of just using in those sections, we're putting it through the whole entire roof.
Right.
What we then do is, Robin mentioned, we have that acrylic polymer adhesive base coat. Okay, acrylic polymer adhesive is a very durable, but it's also it has some playability to it. Right. So if you're familiar with acrylic polymers at all, you might know it from like truck bed liners or something like that, right? It bonds to metal really well. So we take that acrylic polymer adhesive base coat and then apply the stone granite chips on top of that give it that aesthetic appearance and also an incredible durability factor to it as well. Right. The other side, as I mentioned, with that playability and that ability to kind of move without cracking or breaking is very important because you can actually use these panels, as I mentioned, in flashing details, right? It is a 26 gauge metal. So from a versatility on keeping all of the water on top of the roof, you can actually use the panels as flashing details and as counter flashings to keep all the moisture on top of the roof and protecting your roof for even longer.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So let's talk a little bit about those panels on profiles, because I'm with you. And there have been so many times that I've driven by and I'm like, we played this game. What kind of roof is that? Right. And so stone coated is just so beautiful. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I think I finally got my wife in the habit now when we're driving down the road that I'm quizzing her a lot, where it's like, what kind of roof is that? And she'll tell me, like, actually, that's one of ours. That's a stone coat. Right. Yeah. You can see along this slide here where we have several different profiles that we manufacture. Right. The goal is that we have 5 main profiles that are meant to try and meet as many architectural styles as possible. So we have two of our product lines are a shingle looking profile. So our granite ridge would be something that would look just like architectural shingles when it's installed up on a roof. Your cottage shingle is going to be a little bit more of a high dimensional shingle, meant to kind of emulate more of the old wood shaker shingle look. Those are our two shingle profiles. Our Pinecrest Shake is a really cool and somewhat versatile profile. Depending on the color scheme that you select with that, if you go in something more in the earth tones, which is shown there, I think that's our country blend that's on there right now, you can get more of that appearance of like a wood shake look. If you go with a darker, more monotone color, you can kind of emulate more of that appearance of like a flat concrete tile look. Right. And then we get into our two Mediterranean profiles. So Pacific tile is going to be our low barrel tile. That's a great product that I see in a lot of small roofing spaces. So if you have maybe a smaller roof scale that a high barrel might overtake the look architecturally of the whole roof, a Pacific tile can come in with those smaller barrels to help give it that Mediterranean look and to scale a little bit easier. And then, down here in the Southeast, our probably most popular seller is our barrel vault. That's going to be our concrete roof tile emulator, right? That's going to look just like concrete roof tile when it's installed. The big thing I mentioned earlier was, we had that storm that hit back in September down here in Florida. It was a pretty devastating storm. It impacted over on the west coast of Florida, which is a very predominant concrete market. We have a lot of homes that are going over with barrel vault tile instead of concrete tile. Now, we also make concrete tile. It is a great product as well, but this is definitely an alternative that, if somebody is comfortable with metal, they want maybe all the benefits of metal, but architecturally, the HOA won't allow them to have that, as Robin mentioned, kind of that barnyard style look, right? This is an opportunity to give everyone the benefit of metal with architecturally whatever it is that they're looking for.
And you can really see it. I mean, I have to tell you, I love the red barrel. I think it's so pretty. And I mean, when you kind of, if you're doing your Pinterest, right, you got to pick the ones you like. But I think that the fact that you can do all those different profiles and really bring something to the market where they can make it look like the rest of the neighborhood, but have all the performance is phenomenal. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I think that's a big part of the differentiation for contractors in really using a stone coated tile. So let's talk a little bit about storm durability, or go ahead.
Well, I was just going to touch base. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit on the features and benefits of this product line too, but I mentioned before my history, my background is coming from the concrete roof space is how I started in the roofing industry. Obviously, we make concrete as well. And a big thing that I get asked a lot are people that are like, oh, well, I've always wanted concrete roof tile. Well, if you have a shingle roof that's existing, a lot of times the truss system and stuff like that won't support the weight of concrete because it is a heavy product, right? There's benefits in the weight. But if your trusses aren't set up to support that, you really can't unless you hire a structural engineer, beef up the truss system. This is an opportunity to give somebody a completely different look than what they were originally thinking of, with the added benefit that it's a very lightweight product, right? And it's a lot more of a durable, long-lasting product as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then you have the durability and the resilience of that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Robin, if you can start us out, let's talk a little bit about, Class A or Class 4 fire resistance. That's the Class A. Tell us what you have there.
Yeah, so that again, when we're in this field of the product, a metal roof has so many advantages, that are just built into the materials itself. We go through every avenue that we can to prove that durability and resilience. So, when we talk about a Class 4 hail impact resistance, the product is shot, with ice balls, or steel balls drop from 20 feet, 2-inch steel balls drop from 20 feet that don't do damage to the panel, functional damage. So, you get to a point that we have put this product through all kinds of the ringers, so to speak, when it comes to overall performance against every check mark that a homeowner should be looking for in the performance of a roof. So you look at those images there, we talk about the hail, fire resistant. It's a metal product. The product's not going to burn, but in association with that, we use a system to protect the rest, the whole, roof structure, and getting a Class A fire rating, through that process is, for some products, it's a very difficult thing to do. But once you get into the like I say, the metal systems, it just works
Yeah.
because of the materials used. Wind, when we get into Mitch's realm, you get those weird spiraling winds that we don't get out here in Utah for sure.
Right.
But we test those beyond code classifications. So we'll go to the wind labs, and with install methods, we max out the machines. We don't ever lose product.
Wow.
We get applications that like I say, it maxes them out, and that becomes the failure point because the machine can't force any more energy.
And Robin, I'll jump in too if I could for a minute.
Absolutely.
You talked about the Class 4 and the fire resistance, and then when we get into the wind ratings too as well, right? It's important to note that our wind warranty, right, will cover up to 120 miles an hour. And I'll talk about the warranty in a minute, but I want to touch base on the wind. Is that that sometimes causes confusions, especially here in Florida, because down here, in the South and certain parts of Texas and things like that as well, you get into situations where you're needing per code to install to a much higher standard, right? So even though, yes, our warranty will cover up to 120 miles an hour, but installation wise, if you look at our Florida product approvals, our Miami-Dade approvals, what we have, certain application types can get us to that level that Robin was talking about, where we're maxing out the machine at 200 miles an hour. And
wow.
Just some testimonials on that. I mean, we had several houses that were installed right before the storm hit, and Hurricane Ian came through that area at certain areas, gusts of 190 to 200 miles an hour, and we had houses that didn't even lose a ridge cap. Really performed just exceptionally well in these high winds that we see down here. The sustained winds were unbelievable, and we were able to offer a very high level of protection against wind warranty based on that.
Wow. And you know what? That's what people need. That's what they need to know, that their roof is going to be there when they get home. Hopefully they evacuate. And so I think, I live up in the mountains of the West Coast in Oregon, and our biggest fear is fire and what's going to happen there. So everybody, no matter where they're at in the country, is going to be dealing with some of these. But I also love your next point where you talk about being extremely lightweight, because when you think about all the older buildings, they might structurally not be able to handle some of the newer roofing materials. So maybe talk a little bit about that. We'll go to Mitch. Why don't you keep going?
Sure. Yeah. So, the lightweight capability of this product, just to put it into perspective, this product weighs 150 pounds per roofing square when it's installed. Just to give you an idea what other materials look like, your shingle roofs range about 250 to 300 pounds per roofing square, and concrete roof tile runs about 800 to 900 pounds per roofing square. So it's actually even lighter than a lot of the temporary roofs that are out there nowadays. That you can go over a structure with minimum truss engineering, right, and not have to worry about, is it going to start flexing and bowing? You couple that lightweight capability with the uplift resistant values that we get. It's really a versatile product that this can go on pretty much any existing structure and perform very, very well because of that. But with the lightweight capability, that allows us a lot of versatility to go on anything that's out there. Right. If you wanted to put it on a barn, you could put it on a barn. So it's definitely a great product in a lot of different areas to offer a more permanent roofing solution.
That's excellent. And Robin, why don't you bring us home? Above sheathing ventilation and 50-year limited warranty. I know we're going to get into some of this a little bit more, but just kind of give us a highlight.
Right. So again, because of systems that we try to put together here, the above sheeting ventilation, this basically gives a nice layer protection from both heat and cold entering into the structure. So we've done a lot of heat studies where we reduce the influence of the sun by up to 45% of the heat transferred into the structure. And a lot of that is due to the above sheeting ventilation of our system. And then when we get into our warranty, a 50-year limited, fully transferable warranty, it's kind of one of those top of the class, concepts that, we like to say that we warranty the address and not the homeowner.
Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. I like that. I like that. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit then about that energy efficiency testing and the sheathing ventilation. I think that's really interesting. Mitch, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so the product itself, right, regardless of the installation method, whether you're going direct to deck or on battens, the product itself has airspace underneath it, right? And airspace is really one of the best insulators that's out there. A big difference on this product versus some others that are out there in the marketplace is that when we get to like our hip and our ridge details and things like that, we actually don't seal those in. Right. Certain other products you might use mortar and oxide or something like that, where you're sealing in those hips and those ridges for weatherproofing. We don't do that. Right. We use counter bends or different flashing methods to seal those in from a watertight standpoint. But what you actually get is a natural airflow that occurs at the roof deck. Right. So it's not like you're adding in any ventilation to it. The product itself has a natural airflow that happens constantly. Right now, there are other ways that you can add even additional airflow, whether by using our elevated batten system, if you're doing a batten install or anything like that, that will increase that airflow as well. But just the product itself inherently has that natural airflow, which keeps the roof cooler, right? Obviously, living in the South, that's a big thing from a cool roof system, right? It means lower energy bills. We're keeping our house cooler, our attic cooler. As you get into some of the northern states, a cool roof is very important to actually prevent against what's known as ice damming, right? Where you're pumping your heat in your house because it's super cold outside. You got snow on your roof. That's going up through your attic and melting the snow, which is coming down to the eave and then ice damming. Well, a cool roof keeps that snow from melting and creating ice damming, right? So a cool roof is important, not only in the warmer states, but also in the colder states as well, to help perform to the peak that it can.
And so, see, that makes a lot of sense to me because I mean, we get a lot of snow, but we also get the ice damming that comes along with that. But how about insulation? How does this whole system work with insulation?
There's actually a couple different areas where that can play into effect. And within our concept, we play above the decking. So again, above sheeting ventilation, we actually have materials that is an underlayment that is a thermal blanket as well, all built into it. So and then the airspace itself is an insulated, material.
Yeah.
So once you put the whole system together and you're evacuating any of that either heated or cooled space, to keep the ambient temperatures alive between the roof deck and the roof covering, that's where we mitigate that transmittal, whether if it's the cold in the wintertime or the heat in the summertime. So it's a full functioning system basically throughout the calendar year.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of testing because I know, Robin, that's what you're in charge of, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, how does that work? I mean, what is some of the testing results you've had from this?
As I had mentioned earlier, that some of the testing has actually pointed out that the system itself can reduce energy costs between 35 to 45%.
That's right.
And again, that's not 1 year, that's not 2 years, because the system, that's the life of the roof.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. I mean, with everything that's going on right now, especially with energy savings and efficiency, you're hearing it every day. The thing I'm hearing every day too, so I want to keep going because I mean, this just is really interesting. A lot of stuff I didn't know, but fire. And I mean, the whole West Coast was on fire last year. So how does that work from a fire standpoint? And you were talking about it earlier. I was really intrigued, it's not just the metal that we know won't burn, but it's the whole system. So Robin?
Correct. And as the image here shows that, a Class A fire rating is very significant, process that goes through. There's actually 3 stages of a Class A testing. this image is actually a burning brand. So this is a 12 by 12 block of wood that's ignited, set on the roof, and then wind is blown on it to accelerate the burn, to raise those temperatures. And so, that process also emits embers because it's, got a 13-mile-an-hour breeze blowing that, so any embers that come off of that brand is intended to try to find the gaps. And most roofing products have gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for us, in the way that we produce our panel, those gaps don't exist. So those embers don't have an entry point. So it's protecting against that.
Wow.
But then also, as we go through and have a designated underlayment, because metal, it transmits heat. It's a conductor. So we want to protect the wood, the combustible materials that are below it, by preventing that heat transfer. So again, we use the system to protect the structure.
So talk to me a little bit about underlayments too. Any specific underlayments that you recommend or that need to be part of that system?
Yep. Yeah, actually for our Class A system, we have a product that's called Solar Skin Blue. And that kind of falls back into the last slide where we talked about the thermal insulation. This Solar Skin Blue has a radiant barrier on top, a fiberglass mat in the middle, and then a synthetic underlayment as the base.
Wow.
So the whole system, again, protects from that heat transfer, cool roof, heat transfer, or fire transfer.
Yeah. So contractors who are using this with the wildland protection and the fires, there's also some, and I know I'm asking this off the cuff, but there's some incentives, and there's also people who are rebuilding right now in the middle of the forest. This is something that can really help them with some of the wildland incentives of rebuilding and how you're taking care of what you're doing, right?
Absolutely. And one of those things is, depending upon your region, the mountains of California, they are really trying to protect and incentivize, that rebuild. So, I would love to say this is how you check it, Mark, but each jurisdiction has a little bit different. So we always recommend, checking with your local, representatives for something like that.
Yeah, everywhere is different. And, I just want to point out, because we were already talking about this before, but I think it's important as we're talking to a national audience here that, we had wildfires in Tennessee last year. We've had hurricane strength winds on the West Coast from Oregon down to California. It just doesn't matter where you're at. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to see and need to have.
Absolutely.
So as we're talking about that, we've seen all the benefits, we've seen the testing, we kind of know that product. I think it's important for roofing contractors to be able to sell, and Mitch, this is your area. How do you sell and really work with your contractors to make sure you have all of the right pieces that you need for this?
Yeah, and you're right. This is a big part of what I do, right? Working with our contractor partners to help them differentiate themselves from other players in the field, right? The biggest thing is when you're talking to a potential customer about this is understanding the versatility of this and the performance characteristics that, look, my recommendation to most people is offering this as that kind of good, better, best option, right? Even though you might be going in and they're talking about shingles and all they want is, the shingle conversation, being able to offer this as an upgraded roofing system only helps in a lot of different ways, right? The first is being able to give the consumer that additional option of, hey, look, I know we're here to talk about this, but this is a permanent fix, right? This is something that you're probably never going to have to worry about this roof again in your lifetime. Even though it might be significantly more expensive than a temporary roof system, it still gives them that option to offer that as an upgraded deal, right? And then the performance characteristics really help define that a lot too. Regionally, depending on where they're at, is going to obviously dictate what they're going to talk about. If you're over on the west coast of the country, you might be talking more about the Class A fire rating. If you're in the middle part of the country, you might be talking about the Class 4 hail rating, right? I know that there's a ton of hailstorms happening right now across the middle of the country. This is a great product to be able to come in and offer that, and I'm going to sidebar a little bit. Sorry, I could talk about this product for hours. But we talk about hail and the class 4 hail rating that it achieves. When you start getting into other product lines, we talk about the manufacturing process with that stone coating. Outside of the aesthetics of, hey, it makes it look like other roofing products, the other thing that stone coating does, because it is a metal panel, but it also hides a lot of blemishes and dings and dents that might occur from a larger sized hail, right? Versus a standard metal roof that you might get oil canning, and when the sun hits it the right way, you might see a lot of these dings and dents. That stone coating helps hide a lot of those blemishes, right? And then you get into more on the East Coast here, where we're more concerned about wind-driven rain, hurricanes. Wind uplift is a number one conversation we have out here all the time. So really, depending on where you're at in the country is going to kind of dictate what key features you want to hit on, understanding that this product kind of checks all of those boxes, right? And then we talk about the warranty. When you're talking about selling this to a homeowner or a consumer, the warranty, bar none, is one of the best at any manufacturer out there. As Robin mentioned, it is a 50-year fully transferable warranty. So when this warranty is registered, as opposed to other products that are out there, you're not registering it to an individual homeowner, right? We're registering the warranty to a physical address, a physical location. So that 50-year warranty lives with the structure throughout the entire process. So I always put it out there that 50 people could live in that house for 50 years. Everybody gets the same warranty, and there's no filling out paperwork to transfer the warranty, anything like that.
I was going to say, Mitch, before you go past that, explain
Yeah.
that just a little bit more. How does that work? Because if someone moves and then they just leave the paperwork, or they just kind of explain that a little bit.
So the number one recommendation I always give is go to our website, westlakeroyalroofing.com. You can register your warranty directly through our website. It's going to ask you a few simple questions about, when the installation was done, profile, color, who installed the product, and then what your address is, obviously. Once that warranty is registered, it lives in our database. So there really isn't a need to really carry a lot of that paperwork over. There definitely isn't a need to call and transfer the warranty or anything like that. Now, if the warranty is not registered, definitely want to hold on to that original paperwork to help prove that the product was installed on your house.
Right.
But once it's registered, like I said, it lives with that house. So they could sell the house with the benefit of saying, hey, it comes with this warranty that you got another 35 years on it.
That's a huge selling point for contractors, and something great for them to help that homeowner at the end to make sure they get registered.
Absolutely. And a big part of that warranty too is we have two different terms within that warranty. So the first term is year 0 through 20. In the first 20 years, we are warranting against manufacturing defects. And if there is any manufacturing defects, we warrant parts and labor for that warranty claim in the first 20 years.
Okay.
Outside of 20 years, so years 21 through 50, you're looking at a full parts warranty with no proration schedule. That's a big thing that differentiates us against a lot of other manufacturers. There's a lot of others that have a 2% depreciation or anything like that. We don't. So at year 49, it's the full value of the pieces, right? The labor's on their own, but the pieces and parts is a full non-prorated warranty on that end too as well.
Wow.
I think it speaks testaments to how much we believe in this product when we're putting it out there. The work that Robin and his team do to make sure that we're meeting all testing standards to last all those 50 years.
I think this is the stuff, these are the features that the next generation are looking for: sustainability, durability, not having to put roofing into landfills. I mean, it just checks all those boxes. And it also, when you think about, and we talked about this a little bit already, but really when you talk about the aesthetics, the profiles, and how it looks and how it can look like so many different types of roofs, I think that's a huge selling point for contractors when they're talking to homeowners.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, being able to come in and, the next bullet point, which I'm going to jump ahead, is the differentiate, right? So how does this help you differentiate as a roofing contractor? Well, I can tell you, when I was back in the roofing sales side on the contractor level, if I would have walked into a consumer appointment and they would have been like, well, what about this product? And you're kind of like, well, I don't know anything about it, right? It looks a lot better from your end if you can come in and say, hey, we're talking about this. Here's an upgraded feature that you may not have thought about. And they might be all for it, right? And it makes you look that much better saying, hey, I know about all these different products that are out there, and here's a great, sustainable, long-lasting product that you can put on your roof.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of contractors who do have that good, better, best, like you recommended. And it really does make a difference for them, because when you can say, well, we can do asphalt, or we can do metal, we can do all these different things that help you with finding the right fit for the homeowner. I think it's a huge differentiator. And Robin, you are a past roofing contractor. So, I mean, when you kind of look at this in your days of roofing and now today with what you're doing with Westlake, callbacks is huge. I mean, you don't want that at all.
Yeah, I always used to say, and still do, that the first time you go back to a job site, you've lost money.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you made on the first go around. If you go back, you're losing money. So, having a product that reduces those callbacks is absolutely a pocketbook booster to say. And so Mitch even touched on it, with the aesthetic side of things. You could have a storm damaged surface that some insurance companies are limiting aesthetic or putting out aesthetic waivers.
Oh,
well, if you have a roof that might have gone through a storm that aesthetically doesn't look like there's a problem, guess what? There's not a problem.
well, I am talking to a lot of storm contractors, restoration contractors, who are really looking at, if they aren't already selling it, Stonecoated Steel is a product that they are offering all the time. Because I mean, I think you got to even think, we're talking about callbacks and different things, but I think you also have to talk a little bit about just the major inconvenience to have your house re-roofed after every major hailstorm. And you don't want to have to do that. Mitch, what are you seeing? I mean, through the hail belt and and it's the same way in your area with the hurricanes. You want your roof to stay on and not have to go through the inconvenience.
Absolutely, right. And we talk about a lifetime roof is really what we're trying to push here. And yes, the investment is a little bit more, right? I always say financing is always a great way to be able to come in and kind of help with soften the blow on that a little bit. But the biggest thing is looking at it from a business unit too, from your roofing company, is that it's more expensive. It's, you're probably looking a little over double the cost of a shingle roof, right? But when you look at the amount of work that you have to put in, that your inside staff has to put in, I mean, you're still pulling the same permit, you're still running the same amount of office work that you would on a shingle roof or a temporary roof system, right?
Yeah.
If you're offering this as an upgraded option and you close 1 out of 10, well, you'd have to sell 3 of those roofs to make what you just made on this one roof to make that make sense, right? Well, your office staff is still doing the same amount of work, right? So wouldn't it make sense to do something that you can make the same amount of money and do a third of the work to get there?
No, that's, and you know what, while we're on this, I want to talk just a little bit. I know we have a few more bullet points, but you guys bring a lot of questions to my mind. As we're kind of talking about the callbacks and different things, let's talk about training, because I'm sure there's a lot of contractors out there who are thinking, well, how hard is it to install? How different is it if they've never done it before? So Robin, maybe start us out on, that training and really how long it takes for a contractor to ramp up on installing stone-coated steel.
Yeah, that's actually one of the strengths of our team, is we actually have a staff of installation trainers that we send out to, locations, across the country, whether that's, distributions, contractors, even at times job sites, to be able to assist in that knowledge growth. Because yes, it is a specialty product, but it is still just a 26 gauge Galvalume product. So it's not impossible, for anybody to do it. And we do try to provide, every resource possible to get the contractor comfortable enough that they can, jump out there and say, yeah, I can do this.
Right. So go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to jump on that a little bit too as well, because, to Robin's point as well, the resources that we're able to offer as a company, yes, we have the availability and do it all the time where we're out on job sites, we're in people's offices, we're helping train them in person. Outside of that, even, again, I'm going to put in another plug for our website, westlakeroyalroofing.com, right? You go to our resource tab, there are code approvals, there are installation guides. We have a YouTube channel that has just a plethora of installation videos and everything, where I've offered the service to get a tech rep out on a job site to help them train. And they're like, you know what? We watched the videos. I think we're good. And we'll call you with any problems. And I, swing by the job site to make sure everything is going well. And yeah, they got it figured out. So, even outside of the in-person stuff, our website has a great deal of resources and everything to assist our contractors in putting this product on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important, because a lot of times, sometimes sales will get ahead of production. And so you're selling something, but production's not feeling that comfortable. You don't have the best experience, and that's not a good thing. So to be able to have all that together and present that. And so Mitch, I know we touched on sales before, but I want to talk about a little bit on sales of, so we have a number of contractors out there now who are doing one call close. They're going into the home, and whether they're a huge exterior or whether it's a storm situation, this kind of product really kind of lends itself to being able to be a part of the one where other products aren't as easy, right? So talk a little bit about how the contractors can use the your product within that sale to do that one call.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that relies on leaning on your local territory manager too, as well, right? Staying in constant contact with your local representative to help develop your bidding software or whatever it is. I mean, we work with contractors all the time to sit down in their programs to make sure that if they're doing that one-stop sale, that it's okay, plug in the measurements, here's your bid, go, right? We do offer our service to be able to help with material lists and things like that. Obviously, that's not going to lend too well to a one-stop sale. If you're, sending us an Eagle View or roof report, and we're trying to help do a material list and then price it out. Once we get a few of those under our belt, we can get ahead of that to say, let's sit down, let's price it all out, and develop your bidding software to plug the measurements in to go out there. That's working really closely with our reps to make sure that you're comfortable in the bid that you're putting together. Once you have that system in place, it's very simple, right? The product is installed very similar to like a standard roof system, right? It's a 1 foot by 4 foot panel that lays either left to right or right to left and down to up or up to down. Like there's different systems in there, but the installation of it is not quite as complex as what most people think of. Right. It's not like you have to have field verified measurements. And if you're short on your measurement by a couple inches, you're in trouble. You got to reorder the whole package. Right. It doesn't work that way.
No,
your parts and pieces show up to the job site and you lay it out the same way you would any other roofing system. So it's a very simple install in the grand scheme of things. And the bidding side is simple once you get into the habit of it. Right. And that's just working closely with us and our distribution partners to make sure that we're helping you develop that program to lead into those home sales.
It seems like it would go hand in hand, because you're going to have to get your production crews up and going. So you're going to want to have a good couple of projects under your belt. At the same time, your estimators are going to need to do the same thing to be able to get the systems and things in place. And the fact that you have the territory managers right there who can help. I mean, I know that that's a common practice, but still to be able to have that kind of support to bring a new product into your business is crucial.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that that's one thing that I think that the Westlake team does better than anybody else. We have representation throughout the entire country. We're always there to help answer your phone unless we're giving a podcast talk. But we're here to help support in any way that we can, and we have great representation to help support our contractors.
Excellent. I want to talk a little bit about referrals. So when we talk about the best consumer solution, right, that usually leads to referrals and word of mouth and neighbors talking to neighbors. So what are some of the anecdotes? What are some of the things you've heard back from your contractors on really the excitement of when one Stonecoated Steel, one of your products goes into a neighborhood? What is all the neighbors saying?
So I got to touch on that one, Robin, because I recently went through this, right? And your first job is going to be your best billboard. We were called out to a job to do a technical training, and went out to the job site myself, and we were out there working through the project with the contractor. And I don't think we had gotten the first two courses laid, and there was a group of about 15 to 20 neighbors huddled in their driveway, asking questions of the homeowner, asking questions of us. What is this? We haven't seen something like this in the neighborhood. Out of that one job, this roofer ended up getting about 10 more referrals that all ended up closing and going on in the same neighborhood. Because it's different, right? Yes, it has been around for a very, very long time that people don't know about, but it's just one of those products that not many people know enough about to be able to be comfortable with it. And the people that are comfortable with it, it's a huge billboard for them to be able to start that job and say, yep, okay, this is what we're putting on. And that first job will get you more referrals based off that.
And I would add that's not an uncommon experience.
Yeah.
That's been going on in regions across the country, every single time, that one of our loads gets on a job site, and you hear the different noise, you see the different mechanisms, and it does draw attention, and it does draw business.
Well, and I'm going to add to that real quick too, if I could, is that the other thing with this product is that it travels well, right? So the product itself, if we're talking about a concrete emulator in our barrel vault, it ships about 15 squares per pallet. Our other profiles will ship about 20 squares on a pallet. So if you're talking about a community, right, and you've got one homeowner that's putting on a different roof that they end up getting 20 pallets dropped in their driveway, and then the guy right next door is getting 3 pallets, right, and he can access his garage still and go in and out and things like that, it really brings a lot of attention to, well, I haven't been able to park my car in my driveway for a couple of weeks now. So it travels very, very well to be able to help with the footprint on the job site.
Everything. Well, and I want to go along with that because we just had a great comment in the chat, and we are getting close to questions. So please go ahead and start putting your questions in and asking. But Daniel, thank you, Daniel, said you could add sustainability as an attribute as well. And we kind of talked about energy efficiency, but and longevity, which is coming next, but that all goes into sustainability. So Robin, you're nodding. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That some of the great points to all of this is that sustainability, answer, because, when push comes to shove and you get to even the end of life product, it's still a steel roof product that is one of the most recyclable materials on the planet. So, there are so many distinct advantages to that sustainable story. When you get into energy efficiency, life performance, and then end of life results, there really is nothing out there that can outperform it.
And we know that that's a question that's coming from homeowners, especially young homeowners who are saying, how is this going to work? And I mean, when you go into, like Mitch, I always think sales. I'm selling to these consumers, and how is this working and what matters to them? And really, when you can talk sustainability, that they're not going to have to pay for another roof for 50 years, that, and maybe they won't be there that long, but it's great for resale value. I mean, all of those items come together. And I think it's important to really talk about a little bit. Westlake does a really good job on offering materials, the brochures, the selling points, all of this, the website, to help contractors really within that sales program, and then all the way through, like we talked about with training. But Mitch, talk to us a little bit about some of the resources that are available for contractors.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, right, our team is probably the best resource that you're going to have. We have territory managers throughout the entire country. We have technical department that is bar none one of the best out there. We got staff that's here to help support. Our customer service team is phenomenal and always there to help in any way, shape, or form. So the people are probably the biggest asset and resource that you have. Once you start diving into, like I said, our website, westlakeroyalroofing.com. I'll throw in one more plug on that one. The website has samples that you can order directly from our website. We have brochures that you can order from our website or download the PDF copies. All of our code approvals are on there as well. I mentioned the YouTube videos that we have out there as well. So definitely no shortage of that, right? Samples are, like I said, the product travels really well. So for us to sample this product out is pretty easy on our end. We're able to provide contractors and homeowners alike with physical samples of the product so they can touch it, they can feel it, they can see how lightweight it is, how durable it is, what the product looks like and feels like. Samples are always a great selling tool when you walk in. Understanding that our samples are going to come in about a 1 foot by 1 foot piece, and just knowing that the full panel is a 1 foot by 4 foot, but we don't want to be shipping those out all across the country. But the resources that are available both through our website and through our local territory managers is there to help in any way that we can.
And Robin, if people want to get testing information, I know not everyone gets usually that deep, but you may have some architects involved. You may have some roof consultants involved. You don't know. So talk a little bit about how they can get their hands on that testing information, and also just how important it is to be able to have that kind of in your back pocket to show people.
Yeah, actually, following in with Mitch's comments there, that our website we have every code evaluation report that we have is on our website with easy access. It's not restricted to any, social, economic, reason. Anybody that can get on our website has direct access to the evaluation reports for their areas. So we've got stuff for Florida, Texas, California, all the high risk areas, as well as the rest of the country, with our evaluation reports.
Yeah.
So, you can get it as specific as, South Florida, Miami-Dade, 2 counties that we do a lot of work on testing and reporting to get done because it's so specialized because of the environment.
Yeah.
So throughout that process, like I said, it's right there, easily available.
Right in there.
And to build on, again, Mitch's comment about, the human resources, we do have a team specifically dedicated as a technical resource. So there are regional technical representatives that take care of, again, mostly the key ones. We've got a Florida guy, we got a Texas guy, we got a Colorado guy, we've got a California guy, but they're knowledgeable and resourceful enough to know exactly what you're going to need, from any of the performance requirements.
Right. That's really interesting. So what I've seen too is you usually have a contractor base, a network of contractors who have been obviously installing your stone-coated steel and who totally believe in it. And I'm just curious, and I'm actually going to start this out as one of the questions. So please feel free to open up some questions. But as you are, how many of the contractors do you see who maybe just start with a couple of jobs and then grow from there and then end up that this is all they're doing? I mean, have you seen that? And what's some of the, Mitch, why don't you start us out on that?
Yeah. And again, it coming into a market where it really wasn't that well known, right? And trying to get a lot more contractors into it. A little bit of hesitation at the start because it's something new and we're roofing contractors and we stick with what we know, right? But the more people that we got into this and the more that we got homeowners requesting it to where it almost got them asking us for it, the guys that have really hooked onto this don't really want to do anything else, right? It's one of those things that they will do Stonecoat and they will pitch Stonecoat in every opportunity that they can, because now it's gotten to a point where they just are almost irritated every time something else comes across their plate. Right.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And I've had several success stories with that, where we've got contractors that didn't know anything about it 2 years ago, and now it's the main bulk of their business.
Wow. That's a testimonial right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Robin, as a past roofing contractor, you have to, I would love your perspective on that.
Yeah, actually, we were one of those converts. We had begun being a standing seam, up in the mountains concept. But as we were introduced more and more into the Stonecoat back in the early 80s, it became 90% of what we did. So much so that that's why I was brought into the the Stonecoated Steel manufacturing fold was we did so much that they asked me specifically to come and help train other contractors, because was a full convert.
So you can really speak to the training, the changeover to really bringing that on full time, that was a huge success for your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is so great. If there are any other questions there, please let me know. I think one of the things I do want to point out is that Westlake has a full directory on Roofers Coffee Shop, where you can find all this information along with the website that we've talked about a couple times. And Westlake is also on Ask a Roofer. And so very active on our Ask a Roofer homeowner and building owner site, really promoting and talking about the benefits and everything we've talked about today to the homeowners. And so, Mitch, like you said, you get a lot of homeowners who are just coming to your site and looking for contractors, right?
Oh, absolutely. And to touch on that too as well, I talked about the team aspect and the people aspect, right? We also have a very active inside sales team that fields a lot of those calls that come from our 800 number, either handles the questions in-house or passes them along to the local territory manager in that area. But we do have a great team that's monitoring our website and those calls that are coming in. The other thing that I do want to touch on real quick before we run out of time is that, looking at Westlake as a whole, what you get with our company is, Westlake is corporately headquartered out of Houston, Texas. So we are headquartered right here in the United States. Unified Steel is all produced in Oceanside, California. So we are produced here in the United States, and then we have several different distribution facilities from there. We partner with our distribution partners, but we can service them through either the Oceanside plant. We have another stocking yard in Fort Worth, Texas, and then another stocking yard in Pompano Beach, Florida.
Wow.
All of which are USA, USA, USA. So
yeah, and it helps with those material shortages too.
Oh yeah.
You have it all across the country. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I can't, this has been incredible and very informational. Again, if anybody has questions out there, if you send them in, whether it's now or later on, we can get you in touch with both Mitch and Robin or your territory manager, or else just answer questions about the product overall and how you can incorporate it into your business. So, Mitch, any last words?
No, thank you so much for having us and giving us this opportunity to talk about this product. It's something that we're very excited about. As we mentioned before, we could talk about it for hours. Thank you for letting us talk for an hour. But thank you again for having us on.
That is great. Thank you. And thank you, Robin. Any last words?
Thank you, Heidi. And just reiterate to anybody out there that if you need or have questions, we are definitely here to help.
I love it. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time today to spend with us on this RLW, or if you're listening to it on demand, thank you. We have a number of RLWs. In fact, we are going to have a couple more coming up this Friday, June 2nd. We have a special one. It's a different time, but it's a different date, but it's going to be at 11 a.m. and it's on Labor Central, talking about, is there really a labor shortage? I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. So be sure to join us this Friday. You can register on the Roofers Coffee Shop, as you all know. And on the 28th, we'll be back with Sherwin-Williams, and they are going to be presenting their color trends report. I'm pretty excited about this too. They're going to be talking about all the different trends that they're seeing out there, and you can guess what's the most popular color in metal right now. We're going to wait till the 28th and we'll talk about it then. So thank you all for being here today. Please visit us on Roofers Coffee Shop. Please also on our YouTube channel where you'll find this video, and on your favorite podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe and set all your notifications. And we'll see you next time on the RLW from Roofers Coffee Shop. Thank you so much.